Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting match in our TOG 1v1 tournament. Here in our left hand corner we have the Zerg player WT, as well as in the bottom we have TwelveSeven. As we all know, Zerg vs Zerg is a very hostile and fast paced matchup. Hopefully you will get an enjoyable match to watch, which might be a little bit different than the PvZ we watched earlier.
So, what are you expecting to see in this game? You thinking Ling Bane?
Anytime it's a ZVZ, Ling Bane is the most safe and standard of builds you can do, because if they go Ling Bane and you don't have a good wall with Queen, Evo Chamber, and Roach, you just get ran over. So it's typical for most Zerg players to go with a Ling or Bane heavy playstyle in the early game, trying to get an expand out when they can. But I don't know if I would hope we see it, but I know WT himself has been doing a lot of Roach play here recently, and 12 hasn't been as active as he used to, so I haven't been able to see what he's been doing lately.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as these spawns go, if you were 12-7, where would you most likely take a third? A safe third.
Now, if I was 12, I would honestly go up front from his natural, because it's a little bit farther away from WT, because he can run around through the side, through the corner there, and go back down into the third and get behind it, if he micros it well. Whereas if he goes up to his right-hand corner for 12, he is kind of out in the open, but no matter what, his third's going to be vulnerable. So I think that would be a better way to kind of move it away from where WT would be flooding in from.
Yeah, absolutely. You see some standard play from both players right now, with 12-7 going pool and gas. WTDou is not taking any gas right now. Is there a reason for that? Maybe a quicker expand?
The quicker expand is the reason you would do that, to try to save minerals to get it quicker, but with 12 going with the gas first and putting 3 on gas, he can get speed that much faster. And it offers a lot of micro potential for the player with speed, because it can let you kite the other slow lings around the hatch and potentially cancel it. So if, just for example, he just made about 4 lings, got his queen out, got speed started, he could go and harass WT's natural if he found it and got lucky. But he does scout him with his overlord, so he does know where it's at. And he can kite around the other player's lings while doing damage to the hatch, if one has speed and one doesn't. But WT is getting gas, so by the time the lings get there and speed's finished, he might have speed on his own, but it's still pretty late, and it's risky going gas after your opponent in general, just because you have those fast lings at a slower rate.
Absolutely. I understand Terran vs Terran, whoever expands first usually holds the advantage. Is it the same in Zerg?
That's the hard to answer question, because if, for example, 12 didn't throw down the hatchery right there, he could have just done a mass speedling all in, and then WT would have had nothing to stop it. Because you can see he's already going straight for roaches, and that's going to take even more time, because he's got a few lings on the field now. He's getting them there for defensive purposes, but if there were just a mass flood of speedlings, they could literally run around those slow lings and just do damage. You can kill queens, pick off drones, potentially kill or cancel the nat. So it's really hard. Usually, if I'm playing, I try to expand a little bit after I scout, just to make sure that I'm not getting all in with a bunch of speedlings and banelings.
Absolutely. And we are seeing a true mirror matchup as they're both going Roach.
It's a good unit, it's cost efficient, it does take up the 2 supply, so it is a supply heavy unit. But if the other player is going banelings, those roaches just soak up banelings so well. But we do see some lings out here outside of the nat from WT, watching over 12, but they are slow, so he could still kite around with his speedlings. But I think he's mainly putting them there just to keep an eye on, because he knows, the queens will try to keep the overlords out as best they can, so he might have those there just in case he sees a flood moving out so he can react.
Speed just starting for WT, and it's finished for 12-7.
And there we go, we see some lanes going in. Let's see if he pulls back. Alright, so he's pulling back from the slow lanes, gonna surround the queen. Nope, he's pulling back. He doesn't want to lose those lanes, it looks like. He's trying to keep them on the field just so he can have some kind of map preference on the opposing player's field. Now I do like
a little push here coming from WD.
The 2 roach though, roaches are nice in, let me see 4 or 5, but they're nice in a bigger amount, because if they get surrounded by lings can kill them. But in this case, with roach first roach, he's going to be on the opposing player's turf, where he can reinforce that much faster.
Looks like 12-7's going to lose that overlord.
It's worth it though
Getting some
because he does
scouting
see the
information.
Baneling nest.
Absolutely.
And if we do look at worker counts, 12 is way ahead with 29 drones to 17. Putting him a little bit, he's putting him farther ahead. And there he goes, taking the safe third. See, he's thinking like I am. Put it up there away from where the reinforcements could go. That's where WT could just reinforce easily where he's at now. Instead of, he's moving it farther away from his opponent, which tends to be more safe.
Absolutely. WT seems to not be saturating his second base. He really needs to make more workers.
It is an economy game. If you don't have the workers, you just can't keep production up. And if we look at 12, he's also getting lair right now, which can let him get roach speed. So his lings will be faster. Well, his lings finally got speed for WT, but with faster roaches, he could just run around the opposing player's roaches. He could run past them into a base trade situation a little bit easier. It'll give him options when he gets speed. We do see 5 roaches reinforcing now, which should be able to hold this with the spine and transfuses we're seeing from 12. So 12 is doing really well with this.
Absolutely. Great control.
And WT even moved in the Overlord, which is going to put him even farther back. If that does go down, it might supply block him, and it does. So he is supply blocked. He is making a Overlord behind it, but any supply blocks in this situation is always pretty bad. We do see a mass flood of lanes coming from WT, but even so, we do have the Overlord outside of his natural from 12, so he does see this coming. He is pulling, yep, he's got 3 queens in his natural right now, getting ready for it. With the spine, that really will help. With the that one roach does get surrounded, but he pulls off the roach. The roaches are going to try to get surrounded by the lings, but in a clump like that, those roaches they're so tanky, the lings can't do much. And that spine crawler is worth its weight in gold right now. It's already got 8 kills.
Wow, the transfuses and the queens keep the last 3 roaches alive.
12 is microing this really well.
12 is so far ahead at this point.
WT is taking a third
count.
now, but he doesn't have the workers though. He's starting to catch up from 21 to 28. But it's just farther and farther behind the longer this goes on. And we do see roach speed almost finished for 12, so this will let him get across the map and move around to defend bases much more easily. And the double Evo chamber here is going to make a nice little wall so you can have a choke, so those roaches can't get surrounded by lings. The poor roach over there getting surrounded off of his own because he's trying to reinforce from the third. He is putting on some pressure.
Third, try to take it down.
Now he might be able to take it down with the lings, but almost had
so
it.
Close.
Now if he would have focused with those roaches as well, he would have lost the roaches, but he would have been able to take the third and cancel it. But I don't know if that's going to help him that much when we look. Worker count's starting to catch back up for WT. But he's still behind on the upgrades. I mean, he just doesn't have roach speed. Just
11
catch
roaches
up game.
coming up from TwelveSeven behind this attack.
So I think 12 sees with his Overlord at the natural that he doesn't have much after that attack, so he's just going to push. He's just going to do some damage. He sees he has an opportunity, and if we do look at the army supply, it's 62 army supply for 12 against 15 army supply for WT. There's just no way he can do anything.
He will lose his third.
Is he gonna?
That's a lot of roaches coming down from TwelveSeven.
Now he is making banelings, but the banelings do nothing against these roaches at all. He's just gonna march on in. Taking off the queen, no more injects, no more army.
Yeah, those banelings doing absolutely nothing, and WT in a really tight spot here.
He's pulling his workers now, but it's just too late. I think this is just a pure desperation move right here. If we look at this behind this, and even behind this, 12 still getting upgrades. He's getting +1/+1. So WT is morphing in 11 roaches right now, but that's just not going to do anything.
GG.
And to this game, 12-7 wins it. And here we have our second match with TwelveSeven and WT. Spawning in the top right, we have WT as our yellow Zerg, and in our bottom left, we have TwelveSeven as our blue Zerg. I'm here with my co-caster, TOG. So what did you think about that last match?
It was a true mirror match. Both players going roach. I noticed 12-7 took the early worker count, which really boosted them to get those late roaches out and win the game with a huge push.
Workers are the essence of how to make an army, just from how the economy works and being able to have the minerals and gas to spend. But with Zerg, it's a little bit of those tricky situations where you have to decide between, do you want to make larva or do you want to make an army unit? That's one of those difficult things to decide. Not sure if WT's doing this for an extended extractor trick. There we go. With how long he let that sit there, I didn't know if he might be trying to go some early gas shenanigans. But it looks like he might just be trying to get that early worker lead himself, trying to learn from last game. But even then, it still set him back. He took too long to make the Overlord.
You're absolutely right.
I do know I used to see a lot of people do the extractor trick, but it's one of those things that I'm just not sure on myself, because you lose the mining time for the worker. It still costs you minerals, even though you get most of them back. You're still losing income. So it's one of those hard decisions to make. We do see both players going for an early pull as well, but WT's getting the early gas this time. So if he does get speed and get some good run buys in, it could try to tie this match up. But it's just going to be hard to tell. Zerg vs. Zerg is one of those things that just has interesting possibilities.
Absolutely. We're seeing the opposite opening from both players this last game, where WT took the early expand and 12-7 took the early gas. And we see how that one played out, so we'll see if this one plays out the same way.
Maybe each player liked something that they have done before from each other, and they're trying to mix it up and see if they can do it better.
Pools down for both players. No expansion come from WT.
He could be planning for an
All
all-in because he did pull the... Okay, he pulls the third one. That changes my mind. But he did have just that one on gas, which usually means you're making a baneling nest behind it if you pull two off and keep one on after speed. But I guess he might have just forgot about the worker and trying to get that perfect 100. Early spawn coming down from 12, so he is expecting some kind of pressure, because with his Overlord, he can see there's still no expansion going on.
Absolutely brilliant move from W7 to 12-7. It's up to WT now to put the pressure on and take care of that expand.
Now, one thing that I do like that WT has is the earlier queen. It's going to let him get much more larva going. He's going to have an option just to make more units in general. But if 12 reacts properly to this, it'll be difficult for him to push up if he gets two queens made right away and puts it on the ramp from his main to his natural. That way he can't run up and kill the workers.
12-7 did end up losing that early Overlord, which did not supply block him. Does force him to make another one though.
It is a worthwhile scout because that let him see that there was no natural at the time. There is now, but it just gave him the information that, you know what, he is making a lot of stuff. There's got to be something he's spending his money on, because he hasn't spent the 300 on the hatchery. So it's letting him know, he's got to get a few of those lings out, and he's got the spine moving up to the natural, but we'll have to see what happens. And a big mass flood of speedlings running out right here now. So WT's going to go in for a big attack, and he doesn't have much. So unless he doesn't pull back to his ramp from his main to his natural and blocks it, I don't know what he's going to do.
12-7 actually has no vision from his back door, so if WT was to go back door, which he is not.
Ooh, the queen getting surrounded.
One queen goes down.
Now, I like that placement from 12. He put the queen behind the spawn, so that way it's behind that in the hatchery, so he can't get a complete surround on. But it's still going to go down with this flood of lings.
Two queens gone down. Third one goes
Three.
Down.
Now, if WT pulled back, this would be a worthwhile attack, but he's going to keep pushing it forward, getting even more worker kills.
W7 cleans this up. More flood of lings coming from WT.
Now, the Overlord vision of 12 does let him know that even more are coming. So he's making two spawns behind this. He's getting another queen made.
With WT's expansion up, if 12-7's expansion goes down, it's going to be a lot of problems for him. He will be behind.
And he's not injecting with his queen in the main, so I guess he's saving the energy for possible transfusions on the spines. And it does look like he's just forsaken the natural. He's probably going to say it's... That is the biggest misplay we have seen. Okay, well, maybe he'll still kill it.
But
he's running away from the natural. If he would kill that, that would cut larva production in half for 12, putting it even farther ahead. He's going back. Maybe we'll see it. Okay, it does go down. And he's still flooding in lings. He hasn't really made any workers behind this for WT. WT is behind in workers, which is amazing to me. he's just going for the all-in. And he's getting the Baneling Nest behind... Well, 12's getting the Baneling Nest, which one Baneling can honestly kill however many lings he can produce.
With 12-7 speed now finishing, they're on equal terms. I mean, essentially both on one base still, but 12-7's ahead because he has more workers.
It's 21-13, putting... Even though he lost a lot in that, he's still ahead economically. Now, WT is making some workers behind this, but it's just crazy thinking that the person getting all in is ahead in workers.
Another queen may go down for 12-7. WT's lings.
That's still a good pick off.
Absolutely. There are no more queens out for 12-7, although he is expanding. 2 spines down. And he's still
WT's still making lings. He's not trying to make any kind of economy behind us. He essentially got the second base just for additional larva. But with the banelings that he can morph in, this can just completely counter anything WT can do. One good baneling hit can cancel all the lings he can flood in. The fact he's morphing in 3, if he just gets halfway lucky, he can just stop the attack completely.
Again, I'm very surprised WT has not chosen to go backdoor, since 12-7 has no vision of it at all.
And he has his own Overlord there, so he can see that there's no Overlord looking at the rocks. But it does look like WT's going to pull back, trying to get back into a macro game, I'm guessing.
Three drones be made for WT.
Now, I do like that 12's moving out. He does have the banelings, and if he just runs them up the ramp and those lings aren't microed properly and they surround just 1 or 2 of the banelings, he can lose his entire force, letting 12 get in and actually maybe try to kill a queen himself. But the 2 spines moving up with the double Evo wall, that can present a problem, but I don't know if... Okay, 12's getting some more lings in behind this, but what would you do if this were you? If you were 12, what would you do? I would macro behind it since I know I'm already ahead, because I feel like I haven't died yet.
If I was 12-7, I would do what I've been asking WT to do all game, which is probably go backdoor, because WT also has no vision of it. And those banelings would be devastating on the mineral line, because there's nothing down in his natural yet. So losing all the workers from his mineral line would just set him back even further from this all-in they started with. But now we see roaches, so roaches against the banelings could turn out pretty well.
Looks like WT's also getting a baneling nest of his own behind this. But I don't know if he's really going to be able to afford it. He's just now getting up to 20 workers. Putting 12 still ahead of 23. And he also has large... Oh, he's going for the rocks. They know what you're thinking. 12 just caught onto it.
They read my mind.
Which is interesting because both players see the other player's backdoor, but neither one of them see their own.
This is very true. Which should make 12 more conscious of his backdoor now that he's attacking WTDou's. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an Overlord head that way soon.
And I also like what I'm seeing right here because 12's macroing up pretty hard behind this. He just made about 14 more drones. And he's going up to lair tech, so he knows that it's kind of evening it out now. It's slowing down, it's pacing out to be, you know, you're not getting completely all in just now. So I like that he's trying to sit back and get some kind of tech going to match.
Absolutely. The worker count right now is 38-27 for 12-7.
Now his main is a little oversaturated just by about 3, but we'll forgive him since he's so far ahead.
And he is actually expanding as well.
Now WT will see this, so if he wanted to with the speedlings, he could run and start hitting the hatchery pretty quickly, forcing him to pull back from the back door from 12. But of course he doesn't.
WT's overlords are moving ahead. They still can't see the backdoor rocks.
He heard
He
it though.
has spotted it now.
He was out of vision, but he was within hearing range.
Absolutely made his own banelings.
And 12 morphing in
12-7's
20 more
currently supply
lings.
blocked as well.
He's morphing in 20 lings, that's why he got supply blocked. So he is planning on just being pure aggression right now, since he has 2 fully saturated bases.
Yeah, he does know he is ahead. He's ahead on workers and army supply.
And what's amazing to me is WT got that roach warren so early, but we haven't seen a single roach.
Absolutely, and he is floating 1,100 minerals.
Both players are floating right now.
He only has, out of 3 instructors, he only has 3 workers in 1.
Well, he's pulling them off probably because he's short on workers, so he's pulling everything off most likely just to get more lings produced. Oh, and the banling hits. The banling, they just kill everything and anything that they touch.
Both armies pretty much go down.
Now WT to the larger hit. We see that it knocked him down to 6 army supply in total, and he's not reproducing an army behind this. He's expanding instead. Okay, there we come with the army. We got 26 more lings getting hatched here for 12, so he could just keep on the aggression.
Banelings in the mineral line.
Not the best hits in the world, but he still got some damage done. The one downside to a unupgraded baneling and an unupgraded drone is it takes 2 banelings to kill 1 worker. And if you don't have the best hits when they're moving around like that, it makes it hard to get some good kills. Then if we couple that with the fact WT was undersaturated. Now if he was fully saturated in his main, those would have been some nice worker kills.
Absolutely. CWT's finally taking his 3rd.
Now one thing I would love to see is him getting armor. He's got the money to spend, and if you get +1 armor, it'll take more than 1 baneling to kill a standard link without any attack on the baneling. So if he just got the armor upgrade from one of the 2 Evo chambers, that he's got the mineral, he's got the money. If he had those upgrades, he could just extend how effective his army was against an unupgraded opponent. Picking off another queen.
Another queen. Wow.
WT is such a tease. I keep thinking, is he not going to do it? But then he goes back and does it. Oh, and those banelings. The worst time to try to run out of that 3rd.
That would have been an amazing attack if WT did not lose his entire army.
Now, my favorite thing that I see right now is the fact that the Spire is 3/4 of the way done, and WT has no answer for air. He does have queens, he's getting some Hydras out, but the fact that Mutas can just go to where the Hydra can't, he can just fly around the bases and just kill workers. He can just annoy his opponent to death, forcing him to run his Hydras to try to base trade. And Hydras are not the option when it comes to base trading when you have to deal with banelings, because banelings do bonus damage to light armored units, and Hydras are light armored, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I would love to see some roaches out from WT right now. He has the minerals and the gas, and it would definitely tank for those banelings, helping to this competition better. This composition he has better.
That's so true. I mean, there's all kinds of Hydra combinations you can do, but there's one thing every Hydra comp has, and that's something to tank damage for the Hydras.
We see a macro hatch wall at WT's back door with 4 queens.
I would say that's a bit of an overreaction.
Good for creep spread.
It's good for the creep spread, it's good for the larva, but he's got so much money he's just not spending it. He's not really making enough. He's making some Hydras here and there, but if we look at it just like Hydras get expensive, and he just doesn't have much of an economy behind it. We have 62 drones for 12 against 39 for WT, who already committed to an early massive aggression build, which set him behind in that sense. So it's snowballing in TwelveSeven's favor. If we look at it, the fact that he's got 4K minerals, 1K gas to 800, 200, there's just not much he's going to be able to do.
And we now have 8 mutas and 12 more being made. That's a very large amount of mutas for the 23 Hydras with nothing backing it, nothing tanking for those banelings, like you said.
Now the infestation pit I do like.
He does see that 4th W7, he's going to attack it right now. This is just a bad time. I mean, he just doesn't have any answer for those banelings right now.
Oh, he revealed the mutas, so now he's revealed to WT that there are mutas on the field with that Overlord there. But watch these Hydras. The banelings just get in, and all that splash. They're light units, they do the extra damage to them, and they can't stand up. They need something to tank
Absolutely.
for them.
Now we have a critical mass of mutas, and
And
WT calls GG.
a Zerg versus a Zerg, he sees that the fact that there's a big muta cloud. He's been there before, he's made it himself, I'm sure, so he just knows that there's nothing he can do. So
Absolutely. Just a
it
great
was a
couple of
good game.
games.
This one was much more exciting than the last one, due to the fact we had so many Ling run bys and Baneling hits, but
That early aggression from WT was so good. If he would just followed up some sort of macro, some sort of big drone build, he would have been so much further ahead. Or even taking a third or
that's true. I mean, this game always boils down to either you have a successful all-in, where you know you can end it quickly, or you go for a macro game where you can just keep outproducing, you can out-upgrading. But unfortunately, both players tried different things each game. Each one swapping off, like you said, with the first game. We had the early gas and pull from 12 with the early expand from WT, and then vice versa in the next. So we get to see that Zerg versus Zerg is a very random matchup. You don't know what will work, what can happen. But it just comes down to, do you get the good baneling hit? Do you have the control to manage it? It's just one of those interesting matchups, I think.
absolutely. One thing we didn't see, which is I'm not sure how standard in TVT, but we didn't see a lot of creep spread from either player. I mean, not that the first one went very late game, but from the second game, we didn't see any creep spread. Absolutely.